Black and white. I don't know why I've bought two of them. Like, it's actually reversible. Look, like there's you get into that, and the actual black side is there. There was no point in me having two of those. Black and no, not enthusiastic. Black and white. The Black and White was Lionhead's debut game in 2001, and this really is me picking up the story from the old Dungeon Keeper video and saying, well, what happened next after Peter Molyneux quit Bullfrog? Well, quite a lot of people quit Bullfrog, and there were a fair few companies set up in its wake. And what happened there was, after EA took it over and Peter left, people just started thinking, this isn't the Bullfrog that we knew and loved. You know, it's become corporate. We've stopped playing pranks on each other. Apparently that's a really important part of the workplace environment. So they headed off and formed other companies. And the one I should look at here, to not derail the narrative, because we are after all looking at Black and White, is Lionhead. So Lionhead was the one that Peter Molyneux went to, and it's probably the best known of the Bullfrog alumni, at least until we get to the modern day and 2 Point, who have made many excellent Bullfrog-style management games. There is some irony here in that, while Molyneux quit Bullfrog to be free of the clutches of EA, he did end up with a one-game contract with them, hence the presence of Elizabeth and Abraham on this box. But Black and White is interesting in a lot of ways. There's a lot of what we've come to associate as modern gaming being born here, but also there's a lot of what we've come to associate with the name Peter Molyneux being born here. There is a noticeable transition, I think, between the Peter Molyneux at Bullfrog, where it was very much like, I'll just take some journalists down the pub and get them really drunk and then tell them some tall tales about our game, and the sort of we have Steve Jobs at home Peter Molyneux of later years, and this is where it happens. There's a recurring theme in Molyneux's games. Sorry, I have to do this in proper, like, you know, Zoomer film essay style. There's a recurring theme in Peter Molyneux's work in which I feel dirty doing this. Let's just go back. No, let's go back to. Look, there's a way in which it's done here. It's done badly, and we're going to do it badly. So yeah, there's a recurring theme with Peter Molyneux, which is, what does it mean to be an all-powerful being? What does it mean to be good or evil in a game? You know, if you're doing what the game wants, but the game wants you to do something inherently evil, as with Dungeon Keeper, are you in fact being good? Is there some sort of wider moral dilemma going on here? Must be. This isn't a philosophy channel. It's very clear this isn't a philosophy channel. This is going to make horrible DVD. It's not even a DVD, is it? It's a CD. That's a single CD. How much did they get on just 700 megabytes? That's amazing. Let me take the CD out so it starts rattling. And yeah, Bullfrog had definitely touched on these themes in their games, but in 1998, still working from his house, in the early days of Lionhead, named after one of the founders' hamsters, Molyneux and his team started to grapple with this idea of, what does good and evil actually mean? And what if the game allowed you to do both? And then kind of just reflected what you've done. You know, the landscape changes according to whether it has been treated well or badly. Your creature takes on different approaches to life and different appearance, depending on how it is itself treated. You could, in fact, if you were very careful about where you were nice and nasty, be a good person with an evil creature, or vice versa. Originally, Black and White was intended to revolve around wizards, and this was familiar Bullfrog territory. They'd done Magic Carpet after all. But as the game developed, Lionhead realised they wanted more freedom of movement, and so you became a small god. The intro makes this very clear, almost verbatim paraphrasing a passage from Terry Pratchett's Small Gods.
When people pray, a god is always born, able to change eternity. That God is you.
So, I feel justified in using the word small god here. This is all fairly standard stuff, what we do here, right, isn't it? We take a game, we talk a bit about its history, the people that were involved in it. We maybe go into some sort of vaguely interesting thing in the hope that the other million people who've also covered this on YouTube haven't gone into that. And here I come up against a problem. When I pick games to talk about, I'm quite often picking something that's been overlooked, that people never thought was that great, and actually finding some joy in it, finding some sort of justification of, yes, this is what the developers were trying to do. This is a way in which you could engage with it and actually really enjoy it. And, people watch that and they will go, yeah, maybe I will give this a try. Maybe, that's a way of thinking about it that I haven't thought about it before. Maybe now I will waste 3 hours of my life on some obscure bus simulator. Black and White is the opposite way round, because Black and White is a very highly rated game that a lot of people enjoyed tremendously, that was, one of those formative experiences of, yeah, I had a Athlon 1100 that I wasted hours of time playing this game on. And I kind of bounced off it. So I encountered Black and White during my first year of university, when you're living in halls, you really have a lot of time, the demands of the course are not particularly high, what money you've got is probably been spent on booze in the union and cheap oven-baked pasties. What I say there is you've got a lot of time to sit there and play games. And so Black and White was one of those games that I picked up and tried to play, and I got a decent way through it. I got a few lands in, and then a scripted event took away my creature. And the game just slowed to a crawl. And I don't know what I did wrong, or indeed if I did do anything wrong. It just got to this point where I was like, yes, even I, with what is, by adult standards, near infinite time to spend just playing games, I'm going, I feel my time. It's a waste of my time playing this, because I'm just sitting here, slowly saving up the mana to cast one miracle, slightly converting a village, and then waiting again, and probably their support for me has waned in the time. So doing this is going to take me thousands of casting miracles, and I just came away from Black and White going, it's just too slow. It's just the progression, it just takes so long for anything to happen. There's all these side missions where you have to follow a druid and this sort of stuff, and there's got all these 24-year-old memories of this game, which are probably hopelessly inaccurate. And the problem is, this is the internet, right? You can't do that. You can't take something that someone says, oh, I had a fantastic experience with this. It was amazing. That's the wrong way around. How dare you have, with your different brain chemistry and your different outlook on life and your different upbringing and all of that, how dare you have a slightly different experience to me? And also, because maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong a lot. That has a high likelihood of being the case. Maybe, being a student and hungover most of the time and dumb and whatever else, I didn't give this the fairest chance. Maybe coming at this with some sort of sense of maturity and knowing what has happened to games since might let me appreciate it better. So this is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to play Black and White and go, was I right or was I wrong? Is it too slow? Was it overrated back in the day? Or is this actually a very interesting piece of some foundations of modern gaming? That sounds really far too portentous and pretentious. All I'm going to do is sit at the computer and record me being a dumbass for a few hours. The Small Gods inspired intro plays out in all its glory with mini planetary flypast until eventually, in the form of a fireball, I plummet to the planet and save this couple's small boy.
Thank you for your mercy.
At which point I start to become rather concerned about their appearance. I mean, it's not quite PS1 Hagrid, but I don't know how far off.
Greetings, we're your conscience, good and evil.
Yes, and this feels very Bullfrog. You get an advisor, or well, two of them, representing, as they said, good and evil. Unfortunately, the arrival of these advisors also brought on something that frustrates me a lot about Black and White. An unskippable tutorial for something I have figured out within about 5 seconds of it beginning.
I'll show you how to follow them.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, right? And if you want an idea of the early game experience of Black and White, it is this, over and over.
You can also use the keyboard to rotate. Now you try looking around.
Now this is painful to me as a modern gamer. I don't often get to call myself a modern gamer.
You can also
Oh,
use the
shut up and stop interrupting me with your
Now you have a go.
stupid tutorial! Okay, I think we're safe for a bit. And what I'm saying there is actually a little unfair, because back in 2001, this was new. This was Peter Molyneux's big thing about the kind of fussy interfaces, and his view that Dungeon Keeper had too many buttons was to replace it with this really clean interface. But that set up the worry that would people understand it? Would they actually be able to play it? And hence this almost paranoid forcing you through the tutorials. Hey, I can forgive Lionhead for that. I'm playing this in the 2020s, having played 2 decades of games with camera controls like this, but back in 2001, yeah, you couldn't understand being made to play this tutorial, and in fairness, you can skip it on a patched version. You don't have to do this, I'm just enduring the pain for the sake of it. And when I say pain, the game even forces you to prove you know how to save it, which I responded to in appropriately mature fashion. But after what felt like far too much of that, the game does eventually trust me to operate my own in-game camera. And so I get introduced to what was really the big selling point of Black and White, back in the day, at least as I remember it. The creatures.
Greetings, Holy One. You've activated a gold story scroll. My name is Sable. I am a trainer of creatures. I challenge you to open these gates.
Well, almost. This in fact just opened up another part of the game which was yet more tutorial in the absolute basics.
To zoom, you click and hold both the mouse buttons. You move the mouse
Really?
to zoom out, like this.
I mean, I wanted to give this some benefit of the doubt, but it's not many minutes in, and I'm already like, why? But why are you forcing me to redo the tutorial game? Don't do that. That's the actions of a maniac. Alright, fine. Let's go and find this lost person and give Black and White a fair chance.
Brother is in some trees through the past.
Stop interrupting me! I'm very tempted to just smash the house up now. Although it turns out, as I retrieve the third of the gate stones I need to get at the creatures, maybe I do need those basic control tutorials. Oops. I'm trying not to be evil. And after a lot of mandatory tutorials and a little bit of butterfingered destruction, I was finally at the selling point of Black and White, the creatures, and their revolutionary AI. Oh yes, we will get to that.
Look at them. Just look at them. These are miraculous creatures indeed.
I actually find this stage kind of interesting because each of these creatures have different abilities. So the cow is kind of a medium creature, the ape's more intelligent but weaker, and the tiger is dumb but strong. And yet, despite the fact that the game's in like, you've not zoomed enough, you need to zoom again to prove you can do it, it doesn't actually tell you. It just leaves you to discover this, which is a kind of, I guess, and that's kind of where Black and White sits in this inflection point between old-fashioned games, which were just, yeah, you just have to discover this, and much more modern games where it'd be like, yeah, we're just going to tell you. In fact, we're probably only going to give you one of these creatures because the others are DLC microtransactions. I'll get back to the game because I'm getting distracted by a potential rant. Yes, of course I picked the cow. The creature and its AI, which was written by Richard Evans at Lionhead, and won like a Guinness World Record for how advanced it was at the time. You know, it uses a combination of what in 2001 were very sort of current AI techniques. Really at the heart of it is this idea of reinforcement. So there's a tremendous amount of things the creature can observe that are built into Black and White. And you know, this is down at the level of not just the creature sees you pick up a tree, but it sees, like, what was the context of you picking up the tree? Where did you pick it up from? Where did you set it down? And it's able to observe this and then go, oh, is that a thing I want to learn? Is that a thing I want to replicate? You know, it could do these incredible things. Like if you cast food miracles into the village store to top it up with food, if the creature sees you do that enough time, it'll go, oh yeah, this is a nice thing I can do for the villagers. And then the villagers start liking the creature. And you can obviously reward it for this, which is you give it a stroke. That sounds a bit awkward phrasing. Or you can punish it, you can slap it around. Yeah, let's just not go into the mechanics of how you reward or punish the creature. Let's just say you do. And this is an AI technique that it's using, which is to say, yes, I did that and I got a reward, so I should do more of it. Or I did that and I didn't get a reward, I got a punishment, and I should do less of it. And this, I find it's a really fascinating gameplay idea, that as well as you acting directly within the game world, you have this agent which acts for you based on what you've taught it. You know, there's a thing that I taught the cow in this, where I taught it to go and fish for itself, to go and find fish out the sea, and it will do that. It will go, oh yeah, you've taught me this, so when I'm hungry, this is a thing that I can do when I'm hungry. And you've done this for me when I'm hungry, so I understand that this is the context in which I should fish. And I've been rewarded for it, so I'll go do that, and I'll keep doing it. And of course you can keep rewarding the creature, and therefore it goes, well, fishing is a way in which I can get food. And this is why I've always really wanted to like Black and White, because I've not really seen anything which has that relationship with the AI, the sort of trying to create a living being. You know, it's almost, to me, more interesting than just the can you be good and evil. So few games have ever really come close to this idea of what if you had another intelligent being that you could train to act in the ways that you want in the game. And so it's such a pain that I find Black and White so slow and tedious. Or do I? Let's give it a fair shake. Let's not let my initial interactions with the mandatory tutorials and my opinions from 2001 cloud what might be an enjoyable gameplay experience.
What's all the fuss?
And while I might complain about it being slow, I do enjoy the classic bullfrog style humour which crops up every once in a while, such as these very demanding guys and their boat.
We got this notion that we quite like to sail the ocean, so we're building a big boat to leave here for good. We're not keen on sinking, so we're all sitting here thinking, cause we built it too big and we've run out of wood. Idly, we simply can't leave till we...
Once those lads are set on their way, the game introduces me to its actual plot, and I'm only slightly distracted by how much this sheep sounds like the badger from Bodger and Badger.
Another creature? Is it true? Are you real? I've been alone for eons. I thought I would die without ever seeing another god, or another creature.
And yeah, you guessed it. This is the gateway to yet more tutorial, although it is at least slightly justified here. It's no surprise that I find myself in a very impatient mood the next time the game tells me to do something that I think is going to be slow, tedious and mandatory.
You killed him, you uncaring, horrid, mean god.
At least my cow found it funny. I'm not the only person killing things though, as soon we reach the end of this tutorial level, and we're introduced to the wonderfully atmospheric and creepy way in which the game announces your villagers dying, with bells tolling and a whispered death in your ear. Yes, as the game tells you, the situation is hopeless, and there is nothing to do but throw some resources through this newly opened vortex, and then reflect on the experience of this first tutorial level. I think stuff is happening here. Ignore the cutscene. So yeah, first level done, and there's a frustrating mix
Feel all inside out.
of, like, some things are just so over-explained. Like, it makes you do these tutorials over and over, and you can't skip through them. And then there's other bits which are just like, it's just so unclear what you're doing. Like, you can't find stuff. There's that one.
Please come with me.
I'm ignoring the story. I'm probably missing like the bits that are going to tell me everything that goes on. But yeah, there's bits where I was like, oh, I found the Pied Piper. I found where it's taking the children to. It doesn't work. Don't know why that doesn't work. It's weird game in that there's clearly a lot of ambition here, but
you and I together can turn the tide of this war.
maybe some of that ambition is kind of over at the expense of it being an enjoyable game. Oh, it's the second level. I've completely ignored the intro because I've been talking to you through this. Let's see if that works slightly better for me. You know, I'm actually getting into the game now. So in this level I start to feel like things are going a little bit better. I have worshippers, I'm charging up miracles, I can go and water my fields and therefore feel like I'm having some useful impact on the life of my villagers. The game even introduces me to the way in which I can add more buildings to my village and thus expand my area of influence, and this causes a problem.
Kazar sent me. I can help you build your settlement up. People are sleeping outdoors as they don't have enough buildings to live in. This is the workshop. I make scaffolding here. It allows you to decide when new buildings should be constructed. If you can supply me with enough wood, I can build a scaffold.
And this was all the information I needed. I got to work harvesting wood, building scaffolds, expanding my village, and extending my influence until I could cast miracles in the next town over, which soon converted those infidels to the correct path of worshipping me.
Nice.
I wasted no time in getting a worship site going, in expanding this new part of my empire, in casting plenty of miracles.
Miracle food.
And generally playing the game, which was fine until Black and White decided that what I needed was another mandatory tutorial. And the way that it introduced this tutorial was by taking the village store I had just spent the last 10 minutes filling with food using the food miracle and emptying it so that I could learn how to use the food miracle which I had just been casting for the last 10 minutes. My reaction to this was surprisingly sanguine. One thing that I'm sort of realising here is how much Black and White, it's really the start of modern gaming in both good and bad ways. And one of those bad ways was I just built up that village quite happily through playing through the game. And it's like, no, I want you to, I want to teach you something now. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to completely reset your progress. I'll wipe out your progress where there's been that village is nicely set up, lots of food, lots of wood, it's all going well. But now I'm just going to wipe it out because you need to learn this. And it's something that I think what is my huge frustration with Black and White at this point is that it's obsessed with telling me minor stuff that I already understand. But like the big stuff, it's like, no, we just you can figure that out by yourself. It's this weird combination of sort of just tutorials for stuff that I don't need and then just completely opaque on stuff I don't. I'm really feeling that, yeah, my 2025 attention span is in fact way worse than my 2001 one was. But let's keep going. Let's keep trying to have a positive experience here. One of the few things I did learn in university in my first year, other than don't steal one of the big bins from outside the student union, you will get in a lot of trouble for it and your resident form tutor will come round to have a chat, was the Towers of Hanoi puzzle. So as I slowly play through this, it is time for me to admit I have all those same problems I had 2 decades ago. It's painfully slow to expand my influence. It's painfully slow to convert the towns. Everything feels like you're just operating through this sort of layer of glue. Just spent all of my time wanting it to just go that bit quicker. Maybe I'm not set up for this sort of contemplative style of experience. I don't have the attention span. I'm spoiled. And I want instantaneous rewards.
Thank you, Holy One. No more flooding for me. In return for this, I will activate the temple's beneficial properties. Any living being who comes to the temple will be healed.
And then, when I finally got to the end of the level, things got even worse than they were in 2001. I don't want this to become the Frontier First Encounters video again, but it just crashed. Oh, let's hope I don't have to play too much of that again. Yeah, bad news there. This is what I was greeted with upon loading back into the game. So after playing through that level for hours, what felt like days with how excruciatingly slow some of it was, the game crashes, and while it has some level of autosaves, it hadn't saved in
your minions.
Ages. Despite the fact that it claimed it was saving, but no, it hadn't saved in ages. Well done. Thankfully, after investigating the save load room, I did find that the game stores autosaves on the top floor, so I didn't have to redo the entire level, just the last part of it, which, to be honest, still felt excruciatingly slow. What you're seeing here in super speed took me right to the end of the day that I had allotted to play, well, all the way through Black and White. that's end of day one, and I'm now back at about the point where I gave up, which is a bit disappointing because I haven't been playing for that many hours. And yeah, I do have that problem, right? This is, lots of it is just painfully slow, but it's also suffering, I think, a lot from that innovation problem. That the whole iconless interface it's a nice idea, but in practice, there's so many times when you're just sitting there going, I don't want to have to keep pushing the mouse around for gestures, which sometimes don't work because of tutorials getting in the way. I just want some icons, and I just want some things, and it does at least give you some keyboard shortcuts, so you're not left bouncing a mouse around. And it's a weird thing for me because I used to think, well, this is just that I used to use a ball mouse back in the day, and the ball mouse is just terrible for gesture recognition. But hold it right there. Right, you stop talking about early 2000s input devices, right? We know they were terrible. It's fine. You don't need to relive that. I had a thought after this. Surely, if I have this complaint about black and white, I would be able to go back and look at sources from about the time and find the same thing echoed. And yes, I do. But as well as some people complaining it was a bit slow, I also found some other more interesting complaints, which were things like, you don't actually spend much time interacting with the creature. All your time goes into micromanaging your villagers, and your villagers are stupid. They just don't seem to be able to do anything for themselves. You need to give them all the food and wood. And I had this realization that I was playing this because I had seen so many tutorials and the game painstakingly explaining like how its input worked. I thought it would all be like that. Everything in it would be explained. But as you saw from my confusion over the creature select screen, which is like, there's some depth here that I know exists and the game is not telling me about that depth. This is actually possibly the case for a lot of black and white, that maybe I would be better off playing it like a 90s game, assuming that it's not going to tell me everything, that there's a lot there to discover. And so I did that. I did that through level 2, and I had a much better time. And so I came back to day 2 thinking, yes, this is good. I can apply these learnings to level 3 and I will have a great time. Let's see how that goes. So it's day 2. I think I've got the measure of black and white. I think I finally understand how to have an enjoyable game, but in order to really test that, let's see if I can complete level 3. This is the one where in 2001 or 2002 or whenever I first actually played this, I gave up. So if I don't give up, I was wrong. Black and White is actually a very good game. Oh God, look at this dog. That's a life, isn't it? Not having to play Black and White to entertain about 5 people. Oh, let's get into the game. Yeah, so not to spoil this, but this is the screenshot of my editor at the point I loaded all of day 2's footage in it, and I didn't even have OBS running for some of the time that I was playing this. Yeah. 5 hours and 52 minutes of abject tedium, and that's just the bits I recorded. There were additional hours of bonus tedium that only I will ever know about. This level took my optimism that I had figured out how to play Black and White at a speed that I enjoyed, and it destroyed it. And it destroyed it even at this early stage, because even with a wood miracle dispenser on the beach below, it took forever. And with this going the way I didn't want it to, I was facing down the prospect of having to tell the internet at large, which contains many people who deeply loved their experience of Black and White, that I was having a bad time. So having said that, I thought I got it. I thought that micromanagement was the thing. This early stage is still, it is really slow. And I don't know if I'm missing some trick, like something that I should be casting or doing to make this work faster. But it's still taking a long time to build this early village up. I'm not doing that much other than just sort of micromanaging it. I guess I'm not waiting doing absolutely nothing, which makes this a bit better, but I don't know. I don't want to come out of this and go black and white is slow, because there's a lot of stuff that I've really enjoyed in this. But I really just, I think it's a case of keep going to the point where I can convert that first village, where I've got my influence, to span to that level, and then then see where we go from there. I'm trying to like this. I'm not sure I can weather the storm of pitchforks if I don't like it. But it's not just the internet pitchforks that I'm worried about. It's perhaps my own internal demons and their internal pitchforks, because I really, really want to like black and white. I want to come out of this game and go, yeah, I had a great time, because I have a lot of respect for the stuff it tried to do. I think it's immensely clever. I think that creature AI really, if that has a game that I could say, this is brilliant, everyone should play it, it's fantastic, I would feel so much better. But also, there's a little bit of nostalgia there. And that's weird. Like, how do you have nostalgia for a game which you just found hopelessly slow, that you eventually put down and said, I don't enjoy this, I don't want to play it anymore? It comes to that context of 2001, where I had, after a long time of subsisting on a 200 megahertz K6, that machine just failed catastrophically within the first few weeks of term, and I ended up spending some of my student loan on a brand new Affler 1100 for GeForce MX 200. Though we all make some bad decisions, right? That graphics card was one of mine. And this was the first game that I played on it where I was like, wow, this feels properly next generation. This is the next evolution of the PC. I look at it, look at the landscape, look at the huge islands that you can navigate around seamlessly. Look at the creature AI, look at the physics and the destruction. And to not enjoy that game, it felt like a betrayal of my belief that, PC games which are amazing uses of the technology should also be amazing games to play. God, I was naive at 19, wasn't I? So what is the problem? Well, it's this red border here. This is the edge of your influence. And your influence is based mainly on the population of your villages. And if you don't have wood, it's very hard to add buildings. If you can't add buildings, then there's not really much point having your villagers breed, because there's nowhere for them to go. And if your villagers can't breed, you can't increase your population. And so therefore, your influence just crawls towards the next village. And you're stuck doing this, just trying to get slightly beyond it to cast some miracles that will impress them. And if you're trying to be good, which I still was at this point in the game, it's even more painful, because miracles that are evil, like fireballs or lightning storms, you can cast for a distance. Miracles that are good, like giving them food or wood or watering their fields, you need to be closer. And so therefore this influence becomes very limiting. And when even painfully micromanaging the game, painfully trying to grow trees and wait for that wood miracle to recharge and all of that still takes ages, it becomes this frustrating grind where you're like, I can't just go and walk away and leave the game, but I still have to be here and do stuff. And then I triggered this mission, which was a horrible idea because I've always hated it, and it turns out I still hate it.
Ah, I see a god. Greetings. I am a guru. I am off to meditate. I have a secret, that is all.
So yeah, back to this, I guess. Although I was at least now close enough to be able to drop a villager into the enemy village to create a missionary who would slowly, and I mean very slowly, convert the villagers to my side. Remember that thanks to the essential gimmick of this level, I don't have the creature, the selling point of this game. And yeah, I'm saving you hours of this and just skipping ahead to the point where I finally was able to convert just the first village on the map, a task which took so long. I fully understand why I had given up before this point in 2001.
Doing well.
Yes, I have got further than I've ever got with this game before. And I say though, that's like 2 hours to get to that point. And a lot of that was like, I know what I need to be doing. It's just sort of micromanaging and setting up villages as breeders and just waiting for that influence to grow. So it's slow, but it's not unenjoyably slow. Let's keep going, see if I can get my creature back. And for a while, I didn't feel like my optimism was misplaced. It took me about half an hour to get to the next village. And then after, well, rather a lot of this. It was only another 15 minutes before I had converted yet another village to my cause. But not long after this, the game did something unforgivable. While I was in the midst of micromanaging buildings, it sprung a counterattack. And that buttonless UI, in the heat of battle, turned into a clunky mess. You can see me struggle to put down the building I had in my cursor and then try to get the game to recognise a gesture. And it turns out, because I hadn't been conserving my prayer energy, that physical shield was absolutely no help at all. So I desperately searched for something else to do. Fine, let's set them on fire. That will work. Oh. Yeah, that interface really doesn't help when you're trying to do things at speed. And yeah, the wolves very quickly enter my village, and I lose it. And this is the unforgivable thing. Because what the game does is revert. And it now requires even more belief to reconvert it. All of that painful micromanagement, all of that really slow pushing up my border, I have to do again. And this is the point where I go, okay, I'm not willing to forgive that, because I'm willing to forgive that maybe they flew too close to the sun, that this is an ambitious game, that it tried a lot. But that was just pure, we're going to make this take more time because we can. If you think this video is long, it is nothing compared to the amount of time it took me to finally get back here. I feel like I'm not quite getting across just how long day 2 took. So I'm going to make you sit through every single fun and amusing thing that happened to me over the next several hours of gameplay. CLONK! This is why I end up evil, because I like doing things like that. Oh, right. That's the only marker I laid down in about 2 hours of footage. And guess where we are, influence-wise. I hate to say it, but we're here again. It's just this thing. So I get the idea of expanding your villages, of providing them with wood, doing stuff, but you just end up with this situation constantly, which is you've got a line of influence, it's not expanding, the things you need to do to expand it, like in this thing, why cut me off from the wood miracle? It's needed for expansion, and yeah, I know it's sort of water trees, but then the foresters are so slow with it. It's incredibly painful in that it's like I know what needs to be done, but it's just doing it is such busy work. It's so needed to find. I don't know whether it's that they wanted to make these levels last longer, and that if you could, like if scaffolds were easier to build and you could expand quicker and you were actually doing the expansion. I don't know whether the game would be over in about 20 minutes, but it feels really padded. I think that's what's getting to me, is it just feels like it's making you do stuff. It's being slow for the sake of being slow, and it's a shame because there's a lot of potentially good game here. It's so dull. Oh, I bet I've already missed one simple thing, but I keep checking FAQs and things, and it does seem to be just like this is the pace that it is.
Right. Who's this an impression of? I'm so evil I'd eat my own family. Hey, that's me! Well done. Now, who's this?
Play it again, Sam.
Hey, sounds like me as well.
And I know I keep coming back to this, but there's so much about this game which is likeable. I like everything about it, except for the core gameplay loop. And maybe that's me. Maybe it's that I'm not very good at very micro-heavy sort of games which need lots of actions per minute for you to really actually get anywhere with them. So, maybe this tragic influence border, if I was quicker, if I was able to move more trees and water more trees and do more stuff in a minute, this might be further out. But as it is, let me just condense the next hour for you. And it feels bad to do this, because this game, for all its flaws, it is a sort of bridge between the classic 90s strategy gaming and modern gaming. There's such a mix of ideas here. I wanted to like it, not just because that would make my life easy, but I genuinely did. But there's only so many times I could say that. And finally, it's time to wave goodbye to this. Will it be for 20 years or for shorter? I don't know whether I will get some really obvious tip in the comments to this video which just makes me go, oh, well, I was being an idiot and this was all a tremendous waste of time. And if you've watched this far, I've wasted your time too. Well, let's just waste some more with a pointless conclusion. My word, am I grateful to be seeing that. So, it's weird because this is a game that I really, really wanted to like. And I thought based on the second level where things were, when I redid that, where things kind of went okay, that I would. But it's just, I feel that it's so easy to get into this state where it's painfully slow, and there's probably something really obvious I'm missing. The game doesn't really give you much feedback on that. I know you need more wood to expand the villages and sort of get more influence and be able to do good in the other villages, but where does that wood come from? You can't really. The micromanagement of watering trees is incredibly painful. The micromanagement of forests is painful. The wood miracle is one miracle on a beach. That's painful. There's a part of me that thinks like this really would work so much better if it was allowed to be quicker. And I don't know whether it's just that they've got to a point and they thought, yeah, we don't have enough levels. We need to kind of gate this. But it's a modern gaming thing again, right? This is a problem that I have with modern games, is they just make you do sort of this busy work. And that's what this is. It's a great game, just buried in this sort of busy work. And I I think if scaffolds were like 1,000 wood and you could make them quickly, and then, you know, yeah, I think that would be a lot more fun for me. Just as it is, I just find it too slow. I'm sorry, I really wanted to like this, and I thought I was going to, but it's just reached this, like, either I need to be better to unlock some way that's faster, but I don't have the internal feedback of, like, what am I doing that's making it slow? Why did it take me so long to expand my influence to the point that I can then convert the villagers? Whatever. Oh, mission failed. I'm sorry, but mission failed. Black and white. It's just too slow for me.